This is the Yay. I'm Reg Clay.
And Norman G.
This is the Yay, where we talk about life in the theater and the theater of life.
Yay!
Once again, we want to thank Central Works for sponsoring the Yay. Central Works, the new play theater headed up by Gary Graves and Dan Zweifler. I think that's how you pronounce it.
It is. ZV, Zweifler, yeah.
Right on. ZV. I'll remember that. JV. JZ. Reinventing theater, one play at a time. And that
other Jay-Z.
Yeah, exactly. And that beautiful woman that you see is Cheri Miller. She is an actress. She is a director. She's been involved with TheatreFirst, Gritty City Rep, Eastside Arts Alliance, and many, many more. Cheri, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. A little tired today, but really, really grateful to have this opportunity to speak with you and meet you. I've never met you before.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, well, thank you. And we'll learn more about you. And Norman invited you in. This is part of our series that we're calling, what is it, Bad
Summit.
Directors.
Our Bad Summit. Bay Area Directors.
Right on. We're bringing all of the directors in. And as I begin each podcast, Norman, how was your week?
Lordy, what a week. No, because you can't tell whether or not you can go outside with the air, right? It's just been crazy. I had a couple of weird, so I just finished up, I guess it was last week, I finished up the whole standardized patient thing with UCSF, my latest one. And boy, I was tired of hearing that I had, what was it, heart failure. I think I heard heart failure 24 times last week.
Oh,
and if they didn't say the words, they got in trouble. So as medical students, they have to figure out what's wrong with your character. This week, I jumped on the totally different world, the corporate side of things, and I played a guy who was about to retire. So, you know, a lot of companies are looking at downsizing right now. So they're putting in a program for folks that are ready to retire. And if they don't get enough people to take retirement, then there's going to be some downsizing. So my character, we did a few scenarios on the, hey, I put in for that and it looks like I got it, or I didn't, I got it and that's all good, or I got it, but they said it was delayed. I got it, but now I'm not sure if I want it, or I turned it down, can I still get it? It was just back and forth. And I'm like, it's just weird to me. When I do the medical stuff, I'm always worried, ooh, I had night sweats last night. Do I have cancer? And with this, it's like, well, I'm thinking about retiring, and that's what these people are telling me, so.
It's funny that the roles that we take, you know, sometimes we are reminded how old we're getting, you know, when either a director or, you know, some outside job that we're doing as an actor. Oh, you'd be great for this role. It's like, oh, my God, have I reached that age?
Right. Yes, I have.
Oh, well.
And it beats the alternative. So I also got to see Richard Talavera a couple of days ago on the, I should have called you, Reg, the 3rd of September. You know, that's a big day. It's a karaoke holiday.
Oh, shucks.
Because you know the song, right?
Yeah,
it was
Papa
the
was
3rd
Rolling
of September.
Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Papa was a Rolling Stone.
So he rolled through, and we just sat on the back patio and sang that. That was fun.
Oh, you should have called me up.
I should have. And then he reminded me that he had seen me. I've written one play. It was a solo piece, and I performed it for Afro Solo, and he saw it. And so he's like, I remember that play, and you were wearing all this stuff. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, as I was sitting around yesterday sifting through some old scripts, that one popped up. And I was like, whoa. And sure enough, yes, everything he was trying to describe. So he was feeling good. He came out of that conversation with somebody telling him he didn't go to Barcelona when he said he did. And I was saying, no, you're saying it's all wrong about what my play was. So he walked out feeling pretty, you know, like he's on top of it. His memory is just fine.
Memory. Yes.
Yeah. Man, I've known you for what, 10, 12, I think 15 years. I never knew.
Oh, and yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
Was Richard Wright's birthday.
Wow, there you go.
So that's how Reg and I finally got to work together, was doing the Richard Wright project 12 years ago now.
Yeah, that's right. Matter of fact,
and we opened this weekend. This is 12 years since our opening weekend.
Yeah, at the Noodle Factory. I remember that. There've been some current events. I'll just read down my list, and whatever hits our fancy, we'll talk about it. We talked about the Nancy Pelosi and the hair thing, and the only thing that I found interesting was that the White House took time in their press conference to talk about, oh my God, take a look at Nancy Pelosi, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's a press conference about a woman getting her hair done.
Right.
That's more important than 180,000 people dead.
Right.
In America.
Yep.
So that was crazy. The Antifa guy, the Michael Reinhold. This is the white guy.
Oh.
Who
Antifa. Yeah.
Yeah. Who I think he's alt right, or maybe he's ultra alt left. I can't.
No, he's left, and he killed.
He killed a white supremacist.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's getting crazy. I mean, whether it be a 17-year-old white kid who identifies with the hard right, or this 40-year-old who had many issues with the law, dealing with the hard left. Yeah. It's crazy season out there. I mean, Cheri, what do you think about what's happening? I mean, just people psychologically dealing with, this, the police protests and everything that's going on in Trump's America. Do you have a hot take on this?
A hot take? No, I'm in the midst of it all, and trying to maneuver my way through, with some grace and some peace and some effectiveness for our community. But I feel like every time I leave my house and get in the car, I'm putting my life on the line. The pandemic has, I think, caused people to really lose sight of humanity. Yeah. In ways that put us all at a level of danger we've never experienced before. Whether it's, doing 90 on the freeway or on the bridge, or
just wearing a mask where somebody doesn't want to wear a mask.
Not wearing a mask. Last night, as I was coming home from the city, motorcyclists, it was like about 25 to 30 motorcycles popping wheelies, and they had just stopped traffic on the bridge. And just having fun, losing their minds. Right. I don't know that in losing our minds, if we're losing our minds and it's not going to be effective for the cause, it just sets us further back. Right. So I think just monitoring how effective we can be in this moment, how much good we can do in this moment. And that's where I am.
I think that's the word, effective, yes.
No, yeah, I totally hear you. And also, I saw on Facebook, I think you and a couple of other volunteers were giving out masks, and I think you were, I don't know if it was a voter.
Right, yes.
Or actually, I think you guys were testing for COVID-19, right?
Yeah, testing, yes.
Yeah, we've been, my day gig is at the African American Art and Culture Complex. And of course, that's 36,000 square feet dedicated to Black art and artistic creativeness.
I didn't know you were working up in there. What are you doing?
Yeah. I am the coordinator for events and resident organizations, and so I manage space.
Yay.
Yeah, so that's with the pandemic, what our leadership, Melanie Green and Melora Green, have tried to make sure that we do is provide care to the community. Right. So we've been distributing masks, hand sanitizer, things like that throughout. But we had a chance to utilize our parking lot, which is 2,000 square feet. Right. With the San Francisco Department of Public Health, and in conjunction with the mayor's office and other projects and organizations throughout the community. So we've been hosting testing each Friday for the Fillmore District 5, where the numbers are high, and a lot of people in multi-generational households are at risk. So.
Yeah.
No, that's great work. That's wonderful work. And, we need more people like you to help out, to, let people know, hey, if you can't buy a mask at CVS or whatever, then, here's one. And also to encourage people to take a test.
That's great. Does the mayor ever drop by? I'm just curious. That's her old stomping ground.
She does. We installed, we had plans anyway to activate the parking lot. We were losing it. We're losing it to housing in a few years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we had planned to install some active art installations that would change as, whatever was happening would change, not realizing the pandemic was coming so fastly upon us.
Right.
So we have beautiful art installed throughout, murals throughout the entire parking lot, and really partnered with the Bay Area Mural Project.
Great.
On that. And so Mayor Breed, our honorable Mayor Breed, came and there's a wall dedicated to Black people crying, wailing, mourning, honoring our ancestors. And she came and made sure she contributed to that.
Wow, that's fantastic. That is really, really awesome. London Breed is just amazing.
She is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's where she came up from. She was running that space brilliantly.
Yes.
Yeah. She opened the doors after many years of the doors being locked. She's like, no, we got to have access to people and get people involved.
Yeah. And she is part of why we do what we do right now, wanting to honor her legacy. It's coming up on the 40th year that the African American Art and Culture Complex has maintained that space for Blackness. So definitely want to honor her.
That's great.
That's really, really cool. There are two last things. Well, I was very proud that Joe Biden went to Kenosha, Wisconsin, and met with Jacob Blake and the family, and he gave a really powerful, especially yesterday, a powerful speech on Trump made some comments about soldiers being weak or whatever, and Biden really came out really emotional, and I think we needed that. But there are two things that I wanted to ask just to both of you. So Jessica Krug is a professor. Oh, she's laughing already. The professor at George Washington University. I don't know if you heard about this, Norman. This is a woman who claimed to be Black, but she's really white.
I did hear about this.
Yeah, this is the remix of the Rachel Dolezal thing. Only
very much.
There's another woman. I don't know. I mean, it gives me a sense of pride. Now there are white, women who identify as Black and want to be Black, or is cultural appropriation. Do we have a take on that, or it's just whatever?
I want to go back to the current leadership in the White House, speaking about our soldiers. I am an Army mom.
Wow.
I have a 25-year-old who has served this country. He enlisted when he was 17. I had to sign the papers. He asked me to. And he said that he felt right after high school graduation.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my picture.
He felt he was led to serve the country in this way. And so for the last almost 8 years, he's been overseas. He's on his third deployment now.
Is the Army or Navy or what?
In the Army.
Cool.
And so anytime that anybody, and when we look at, even our ancestors and our elders and the sacrifice they made to serve a country who never honored them, never respected them.
Right.
I'm not okay with that. And there's been so many ways that he has disrespected the ground that we stand on. And I'm hoping that our ancestors will shake the ground up under him and suck him right on down. That's my hope.
Yeah, I think about, Buffalo Soldiers, and of course, Jeannie Baroga wrote about Buffalo, what the African-American soldiers from Civil War all the way up to World War I, World War II, Vietnam. My dad was a veteran of Vietnam. Norman, you're a veteran. When I heard Cheri talk about she having to sign off so her son can
My mom had to sign off. Yeah, I was 17.
Exactly. You did the same thing. So, no, you're absolutely right. Trump, he's burned so many bridges. He's pissed off so many people, now veterans. I mean, and of course he's saying, well, someone said that about me, but it's not really true. But, he's just burning way too many bridges. Also, one last thing that I had on my mind before we get into an origin story is ketamine. Have you guys heard of ketamine before?
I've heard of it.
Me too. It sounds very familiar.
It's a drug that law enforcement use. Actually, it's only the paramedics that can use it. So let's say if you're busted, you're a Black man, you've been busted by the cops, and the cops say that you're being unruly, you're being overly emotional, they can instruct an EMS person, a paramedic, to say, give him some ketamine. Elijah McClain in, I believe it was Oh, shucks. Hold on for a second.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, Denver, Colorado. He was killed. He was injected 500 milliliters of ketamine, and he died, I think, within the hour. And I only knew about it because the tennis player, Naomi Osaka from Japan, the black Japanese tennis player, she had the name Elijah McClain to uplift his name.
Right.
But ketamine, I mean, cops are using this. Cops are telling paramedics, inject them with ketamine, whether not knowing what your medical history is.
Right.
There needs to be, that worries me a great deal. So
it should. Yeah, no, this is getting ugly.
Yeah, it really is.
It's time for us to defund the police. And
definitely.
With Shaman Walton, Supervisor Shaman Walton from District 10, which is the African American Art and Cultural District, the first in the country to be legislated by law. When he introduced the reparations bill, that was his primary focus. And of course, Mayor Breed adopted that in her new budget. And the Board of Supervisors just passed that in San Francisco to take away $120 million from the San Francisco Police Department and dedicate that to Black health, Black wellness, Black programs, and under our direction, not anyone else's. So we get to say how we use that money. And that's exactly what needs to happen. When we think about all of the harm that the police department has caused in any minor interaction with a Black person within this country, that alone says that they will never be able to operate under the equality that we need them to be able to do. They see a Black person and they immediately think that our life is worth less than theirs.
Right.
They immediately think that they can judge us based upon whatever it is the call was for, whether we should live or die.
Yeah.
They immediately think that their right to or their use of a badge and a gun makes them our judge. Yeah, our jury and our judge. And it's ridiculous. And it's nothing that will ever improve under the way that the police departments are structured and funded right now.
Yeah. A bunch of things just passed through the state, but there's still more to do.
Yeah, and that's why I'm hoping, in Kamala, I'm sure that Biden will lean on Kamala Harris as vice president to sort of lead the Justice Department, because what Obama did, under his term with Ferguson, Missouri, basically auditing the Ferguson Police Department and, putting them under, I forget what, they looked at the pattern of abuse and said, hey, listen, you can be fined and you can be defunded if there's a pattern of abuse, not just isolated instances, but patterns of abuse. So I'm looking for the Justice Department to do that under the Biden administration. So you're absolutely right, Cheryl. And with that, I'm going to give it to Norman, and let's learn more about Cheryl Lynn Miller.
So I grabbed Cheri. I was so happy that you were available today, because we've been doing this thing I'm calling Bay Area Directors Bad, my bad summit. And Reg has been gracious in letting me do this. This is my little celebration of my birthday to talk to directors and talk to folks that have been out there in the trenches. If you are working in theater, what do you see and how do you feel like it's going? And where do you see as, those next steps, either for you or for the community? But we always start with just an origin story. Are you native to San Fran?
I am not. So I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. My mother was born and raised there, and her parents are from Savannah, Georgia. My dad is from Louisiana. So I have very Southern roots, but I am a Detroit born and raised girl. Here I am in the Bay Area for the second time. I lived here previously in the 90s through 2000 when my son was just a toddler, and was able to return in 2013 after he graduated and joined the Army. So I'm here for the first time solo dolo.
So I met you shortly after that then.
Yes, you did.
Had you been doing theater before?
No, I had not. I thought I had stage fright, Norman.
I do remember this, yes.
Yeah, I thought I had stage fright from performance in elementary school, where I was Tom Tom Turkey, and I was teased a lot by my friends and peers, and I froze in the midst of the production.
Oh.
And I never, ever, ever wanted to take the stage again. Not ever.
What brought you back?
What brought me back? Nobody would hire me, Norman, to work. So I came and I was out here trying to find a job, and and I couldn't find a job, and I was getting ready to give up. And I was at church. I was going to go home back to Michigan. And I had been here almost 2 years.
Right.
And it was 2014. And Mrs. Mary Booker, on my lowest day, on the day when I said I'm going to give up, and I was trying to exit from Providence Baptist Church, the side door, because I didn't want anybody to say hi, and I didn't want anybody to touch me, and I didn't want anybody to change my mind or try to encourage me, because I knew that it was time to go. And she called me over to her. I had never met her before, ever. And she waved me over, and I looked behind me to see if there was someone behind me. There was no one. And I asked, I was me, and she, yes, and please come. And I went over to Queen, Mrs. Mary Booker, and she said, hello, my name is Mary Booker, and I'm a playwright. And you fit the description of one of the characters of a new play I'm working on. I was wondering if you would like to take acting workshops with me. That was in April. In June, I made my stage debut on an ACT stage.
Yeah. Wow, ACT, amazing.
Yeah. So this was what I was supposed to do, I guess. And all along, I was thrown off by, bullying and teasing and having thought that I was too fragile to do the work.
Yeah, I find a lot of times people, I find it as I get older, the language around how you do something is hard, because when a lot of things like, what was the term we were just talking about last week, emergent. These phrases for how people get started often are aimed at young people, but the fact is, especially in theater, you got a story to tell at almost any age. So I met you over near 3rd Street.
Yes.
And I guess at that point you had been working with Mary.
Yes.
You said there were acting classes as well?
Yes. I took acting workshops with her 3 times a week at her home.
Wow.
She gave those to me for free.
One-on-one?
Mostly, and then sometimes other people would join us.
And then Amy Crumpacker connected to her somehow.
Yes, Amy has the 3rd Street Playhouse, and it's associated with the Bayview Opera House as well.
Yeah.
And Amy reached out and asked me to do Mother Earth for Earth Day.
That's when I met you, yes.
Yes, and you came in with your expertise day of and crushed it. I was like, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Amy and I have known each other for a while. We were doing Each One Reach One together. So she brought me in for this project. And it was street theater. I mean, this was real street theater. We were out in the community trying to let people know that 3rd Street had a community there, and all these new folks that were showing up needed to pay attention.
Yes. And that's because the Bayview is where my acting career started.
Right.
And the Bayview Opera House, Mrs. Mary Booker and the entire community, the support, and ACT even.
Right.
That's my family now. That's my place of home. That's my place of rest.
Well, you were so shy. I was surprised to see that you were out doing more. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, I think about just the privilege it is to be a performer, and and how long it took me, because I'm 51.
Right.
How long it took me to even find my purpose, to find home, because theater is my home. I've always loved theater, but I've always been an audience member.
Well, what is it that got you on the next step of it to directing?
I have no idea. It's just been a natural progression, I guess. But let me say that I've been directed by some of the very, very best. I've been directed by Tyrone Davis. I've been directed by Stephen Anthony Jones. I've been directed by Mina Morita. I've been directed by Margot Hall. I've been, directed by all of these greats.
Yeah.
And I have just
Elizabeth, who we had on the show.
Yes, Elizabeth Carter. So many. Oh my goodness. I'm a sponge. Aaron Merritt. I am a sponge. Anytime that I'm in the room, I'm listening, I'm paying attention. I'm in awe of how the process is so collaborative, and the vision that a director has, and how it transforms the acting. And I'm a sponge. That's the best way to kind of say where I kind of developed the ability to do what I do.
Well, was your training on, would you say your training was on the job, or did you actually stop and do some training for this?
I took a lot of classes, of course, but never any directorial classes. I started self-directing. So Alicia Harris allowed me to perform her piece Red Eye, and I self-directed that. I self-directed Mrs. Mary Booker's Silence for a Juneteenth performance, and I think people seeing that said, "Oh, she's pretty good." And I don't know if anybody else said that, but my sister Regina Evans was like, I
was hoping you would mention Regina.
I have a quick question for you, Cheri. We've interviewed a bunch of directors, and there are people who have different directing styles, like Susan Evans, who she's directed me many, many times. She's part of, or at least she was part of Town Hall Theater, and also East Enders Repertory Company. Her directing style is to give you the blocking immediately, to tell you the vision, to give you some structure immediately, and then to set the actors out. Richard Harder, on the other hand, who's directed, he's part of Off-Broadway West when that was around. He had the opposite approach. He would say, hey, listen, you give me I'm going to give you the flexibility, actors. I'm not going to give you any direction at all. And I'm going to see what you're going to do. And then I'm going to formulate things while I see you guys do it. What would you say your approach to directing, especially in the very beginning?
Yeah, I think I'm more of a let's see where the story takes us and how the actors are able to embody the roles, and then we build from there. But I definitely have a vision of the story for me. That may not be how it ends up. And I think it has to be a collaborative process. It doesn't always work. It just depends on how the playwright is able to collaborate within that space, how the actors are able to collaborate with each other, with the director, with the script. And then to me, the story comes to life. I love Erin Merritt, her style of directing, because we're up on our feet immediately without any blocking, but let's just see how this story unfolds. I think it works very, very well when you have actors of different levels of expertise, so that nobody feels that they're not bringing their very best or what they have. We all meet where we are.
So where did you talked about some of these solo pieces, like with Regina, you got pulled into these. When did you get pulled into something that was beyond solo?
John Tracy. And I am the house manager at TheatreFirst, and also a company member.
Mm-hmm.
And my relationship began with TheatreFirst as an actor and participants. That relationship evolved into TheatreFirst being my home, my family.
Mm-hmm.
And so John, 52 Letters was, it went on to Ubuntu, and
right.
And it was nominated for a TBA.
Mm-hmm.
So I think John just wanted to see what I could do. And it was like, okay, so you're going to come home and direct, right? Our season opener from the ground up. And I was like, what? Really? You going to let me do that? And then he was like, and don't you want to perform in Cleavon's piece, Moaning Bones? And I was like, wait, I'm directing that one too. How does that work? Are you going to be here with me? And I made him promise that he was going to be with me throughout the entire process. There was some hiccups, a lot of great learning experiences in that. But I love theater. I love creating. I love storytelling. And I love honoring the story itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was challenging, but I did it. All the way through.
Have you guys been talking? John is making this big transition now. TheatreFirst it's funny because we've got these big changes in Bay Area theater happening.
Yes.
And TheatreFirst, John Tracy is going to step down.
Yes.
And he's, I'm not really sure what that process is. Do you have a sense of what's going on, how this is going to?
Yes. So John has always considered himself an artistic facilitator, not an artistic director. Mm-hmm. And he facilitates our greatness to come through, always. Mm-hmm. With that being said, even though TheatreFirst was already very, very committed openly to the goals of 1/3 people of color, 1/3 LGBTQIA, and making sure that our stories represented the underserved and the people who had very little voice in normal American theater companies. John is making an even greater commitment to us having access to our greatness. Mm-hmm. By making TheatreFirst, and we're doing it as a company. It's not just him. So right. We have a fabulous board, a very interactive company. And what we're doing is creating a launching pad with TheatreFirst. So every 3 years, our leadership will change. And it will be a launching pad for our artistic facilitator, director, leadership to be ready to take on an alert theater company.
Right.
And so that's what we'll continue to do. We'll continue to launch careers and give Black people and people of color the space to activate their greatness and tweak it and be prepared for the next level of work.
It's huge. I mean, he made this announcement, and obviously from what you're saying, it's clear he's been talking to folks. It's not just his thought, but he was like, I am ready to move forward on this social justice thing. I'm not going to wait for somebody to tell me how to do it. We're going to figure it out. And this is an organization that has had, Carl Lumbly has been on that stage. Oh God, what's his name? Five Bloods.
Yes, Danny Glover, Delroy Lindo.
Delroy Lindo. Yeah, these folks have been involved and supportive. So John's vision from the beginning was to really stretch the bounds of what it is we do. So that was one of the things I was like, you have been a part of that conversation for a while.
Yes, and I'm very grateful, that we all have a voice that contributes to TheatreFirst, our greatness, and us leading the charge in the Bay Area to show that theater companies don't have to be, old styled.
Right.
Work.
Yeah.
very, very grateful for Carl Lumbley's continual support of TheatreFirst and our work as artists. It's one of the reasons why we are able to pay. We've been doing this, paying for auditions. We pay $15 an hour,
right,
for the minimum wage for auditions.
Mm-hmm.
If we call you in for an audition, we're going to give you transportation costs.
Right.
We're not going to waste your time.
Wow.
To me, that's that commitment of, we see you as artists, and we know that it takes work and money to be artists.
Yeah, it keeps us from just being this elitist form. It's like, if you really want to hear everybody's, if you want diversity, then you've got to make it accessible.
Yeah. Well, it's a huge change from what I experienced with the American Conservatory Theater. Mm-hmm. Even though that had been my family, that had been my launching pad into a very sustainable. My career is just like, it turned into something completely different from, where I started with Mrs. Mary Booker in her home because of the American Conservatory Theater. But,
right.
Was there true space made for me within that organization? No. Were we harmed? Yes, for 3 years. And it took Stephen Bisher to stand up for us.
Right.
To say that this is not acceptable. Because they're artists. You don't get to treat them differently.
No, I was just going to say, I think that's we've been hearing that a lot. Someone enters a theater company and they're excited. Oh my God, I'm in ACT, everything's wonderful. And then you realize, oh, wait a minute, my story isn't being told. And
right.
Am I helping them out more than they're helping me out?
Right.
And you get to the realization, okay, I need to make a decision within my career that I mean something more, and I need to be involved with a company that really will invest in me.
Well, yeah, that misnomer of company. We all have this notion that there's this entity that exists and you become a part of that. And what's really happened is you're just sort of, you're sort of like an Uber driver. You're not really part of the company. You're just the one that they're letting be a part of what's happening right now. And then when you're done, you're lucky if they say goodbye.
Yeah, you get the proverbial pat on the head.
They trained me. American Conservatory Theater gave me free training alongside very talented MFA students. And gave me access to classes that I would have never been able to afford on my own.
Right.
They featured me in their, blogs and on their website, and they gave me, a platform, but they also limited us as a people within their organization, and made it very difficult for us to even be in this space. It took courage to walk through the door every day.
Right.
So.
No, it's a very different model from what John has done. John has really blown the doors open and said, come in, we want you to be a part of this, and we recognize what you do has value. We're not just going to claim that it has value, we're actually going to give it value.
Yeah. I had a question for you, Cheri. Actors, the playwrights, of course, have a story that they tell. They're considered artists, and of course the actors are artists, and they're the ones that the audience sees. But a lot of people they can't wrap around in their heads that the director is an artist as well. And you have a story to tell. What do you want people to see when they see a Cheri Lynn Miller directed play? I mean, what message, as far as what plays you choose to direct, the actors that you choose to work with, what message do you want people to see when they see a Cheri Lynn Miller play?
So I'm first of all, I'm feeling like I'm at home. Only my family calls me Cheri Lynn, and it's not completely Cheri Lynn. It's usually Cheri Lynn, because it's.
Oh, okay.
Name,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I'm feeling it's okay that you're making the misstep with my name, because that just makes me feel at home. That's my auntie calling me from the kitchen.
I kind of figured when I saw the Lynn, that's what that was.
But yeah, my family definitely is always Cheri Lynn. But what I'm learning that I have to be very, very careful of the work that I choose to put my name on. I do theater now because I learned that it can heal, because it healed my life. Mm-hmm. My life was broken when Mrs. Mary Booker asked me to work with her.
Right.
And I was just going to stay in corporate America for the rest of my life. I had worked for, U.S. Steel for a long time, the phone company for a long time, mm-hmm. Project managing and safety and things like that. I was a corporate America girl. So for me to take that step into theater and find my voice, my home, my soul's home. This is my soul's work. I know theater can heal for others, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to make sure that that's what I'm contributing. First of all, for anybody in the room with me, that we need to be able to heal together as we tell this story. And that's what my focus was with Gritty City. I don't know if you all saw my email.
No, I was hoping you'd say something, because I don't think a lot of people know about Gritty City Rep.
Yeah, so Gritty City Rep is an Oakland-based youth theater program that, in my opinion, has done fabulous work from what I have witnessed. And I got to know Gritty City through the Hive, which is a collaborative program that Crowded Fire, Ubuntu, and Gritty City created, where we focus on audience development. Mm-hmm. And then I said yes, thinking that I could help, Gritty City out and be with the youth. They have a new model that they're introducing, where they're bringing in outside directors and mentors for the youth. Mm-hmm. And so I said yes, and the movement of We See You and calling out theater companies for abusive behavior, Gritty City was named in that. So here I was directing their season opener,
right,
in the way of the movement. And I was like, okay, well, what can I do? What can I do to make sure that, and I had to really get silent about, how to move forward with that. But I need to be in the room. First of all, I've never been in the room with the youth. I've never heard their experiences. I've never witnessed anything. So let me get in the room. And so the play that I directed is called Culture Shock, and it was written by Gloria Majule, who is Tanzanian. And the story is based upon her, or not her, but an exchange student two exchange students from Tanzania and Kenya coming to school here in the U.S. Mm-hmm. And so going into that space with our youth, I was able to see that they were not thriving as much as they should have been after being in a program for 3 to 4 years. Right. They didn't know how to collaborate and to use their voice, or feel that they could use their voice.
Sure. What space were they using?
I'm sorry?
What space were they using?
We were on Zoom.
Oh, okay.
This summer. Yeah.
This summer. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was this summer. That was just
wow. So you've done that, the transition into
I directed my first Zoom. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And I used Claudia Alex, all of her training, all of the work that she's doing with Calling Up Justice and We Charge Genocide. She is leading the charge and making sure that we're equipped with all the knowledge that we need in order to build great theater.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it worked fabulously. And then Claudia came on and with her team of Calling Up Justice and worked with White Knights Black Paradise at MOAD as well. So I just I love her. She's one of my favorites.
Sounds like you're in the right place at the right time. So what happened with Gritty City then?
Gritty City. So I directed. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. I made sure to teach the youth how to speak their access needs.
Okay.
How to hold space together collaboratively. how to take direction without being offended or feel like you're not valued. That's my primary focus, and I put everything in writing.
It's funny because you say that, and so often we're told that, you know, park your ego at the door. But the fact is that's often been being told to you as a participant. The organization isn't always coming at you in that same respectful way that they're asking you to bring.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it sounds like you were trying to find that balance, or at least make them aware that they had some power.
I think, you know, with our youth, they're already vulnerable because of the things that are piled up against us every day.
Right.
I definitely would not want any of them to walk into a creative space and feel overwhelmed. They should feel they're most at ease in a creative space.
Yeah.
They should feel they're most free in a creative space.
Right.
And I don't care, you know, how great the work you need the work to be. It's not about the work, especially when you're working with our kids.
Right.
It's about helping them develop into great artistic creatives.
Yeah, well, full human beings.
Anything less than that is unacceptable. So what I did is I directed it, and then I waited a couple of weeks, and I sent a letter to Gritty City thanking them for the opportunity and letting them know that I wouldn't be able to participate with them for the rest of the year because of and I cited, you know, the reasons of We See You.
Right.
And I'm standing with that movement. It's imperative that we stand with this movement.
Well, it's amazing that people, you should say more about what that is, but I just want to say, it's amazing how people, again, want to make this is about Black people or about diversity, whatever that means. But you're talking about some real core, just treat people with some dignity and respect.
Yes.
So can you say more about what We See You is?
Yeah, so We See You after George Floyd's murder, Breonna Taylor's murder. We See You popped up on my timeline with all my favorites, you know, Orange Squire and Nambi Kelly and just like so many heavy hitters, theater makers at that phenomenal level, calling out white theater companies.
Right.
Saying that we're not Dominique Moroso. We're not going to continue to contribute our work to you until we see change.
Right.
In the way your organization is structured, in the way that we share space with you. And these are the list of our demands.
Right.
And they came with all truth. It was no lies. This is all truth. This is how this is being presented. This is what we've been working under all along, sharing our greatness with you, allowing you to make money from us.
Right.
But still, we have no say-so over our art.
Right. Yeah, so, no voice in it besides the voice that they're wanting to share with the world.
Yes.
No, it's been deep. Go ahead, Reg.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love that, you know, we have unity across the board in it. You know, it's not just Black, you know, artistic creatives, and it's not just Latinos. It's all of us standing together, and that kind of movement. And even now, they're still calling people out and doing it beautifully and unapologetically.
Yeah,
and why do we have to continue to apologize in order to create our and to live in our truth of being our artists? That makes no sense.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right. And it's something that we've talked about. You know, there's a point where if you're a person of color and you're working in theater, when are you going to make that level where you cross the line and say, okay, I'm not going to be the butler anymore. I'm not going to be, you know, the supporting actor, or, you know, do what another company that when are we going to cross the line and say, hey, listen, I want to do the theater that I want to do. You know, like I've worked with EastEnders and I've worked with other companies and I've done what they want me to do. I've been put into their little box.
Right.
And, you know, been very happy with it. And all of a sudden I said, hey, this story that I want to tell, there are characters that I want to be. There's, you know, what story represents who I am. Because when I bring, you know, people like family members or individuals to watch me on stage, they may watch me, Reg Clay, but are they watching, a story that I want to tell? And so every now and then, a artist has to make that decision. When am I going to make that stand? So I think that's fantastic. And you're right. Other people of color, like Eli Sonny Okeza, he started the living document.
Yeah.
Which also had demands and things like that. So Philippine Americans and Latinx Americans and all sorts of cultures are like, hey, listen, if our story isn't being told, we don't have to participate. So I think that's excellent. I had a quick question. White Knights, Black Stories. We talked about that off mic. Can you talk about, your participation in that? That deals with the Jim Jones story.
Yeah, it's White Knights, Black Paradise.
Paradise, yeah, thank you.
Yes, written by Dr. Sakivu Hutchinson. And it gives voice. It gives voice to the Black women within that movement, within the People's Temple. And I've never heard it from their perspective, the story unfold. So to hear the same things that we're faced with now in the 70s, it was even more abusive, housing, low wage jobs, being mistreated on their jobs, food shortage and insecurities.
The beginning of the food deserts, right.
And just really feeling that all of the work that they had done and their parents had done to create a life here in the Bay Area was for naught.
Right.
That nothing was going to change, nothing was going to get better. Jim Jones having the ear of the president at that time, Jimmy Carter and Rosalind Carter, his wife, and the governor and the mayor, and he
Willie
sat
Brown.
on so many boards, and he even had space within the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
They invited him to speak there. Was the only white man that they've ever invited to speak at their convention with Elijah Muhammad.
Right.
The way, and even the Black Panthers supported him.
Yeah.
And so these Black women, they were smart, they were brave. When what they wanted to create, their goal was to create a sustainable environment where they could thrive. Right. And they were trying to do that within, the Bay Area through the People's Temple, which led to, a lot of Black women selling their homes. Right. And creating these collective housing programs and clinics. It was because of them, though. And then the Guyana thing came up, and that was Jim Jones having gone down there, and he knew in advance that the land was not viable to grow food. But he told them different. Right. That, we can grow food. Right. He got lost in his vision. We can build our own kingdom here. Right. And our own nation, and we never have to be ruled by white supremacy and white dominance ever again. And that was the Black women's goal. Their goal was to create a world and a space that their children would never have to feel what we feel when we go outside today. Right. And in that, they lost their lives. And so Dr. Sakivu Hutchinson gives voice to those women. And it's a very necessary story.
It sounds beautiful. Where was it?
We did it at Moad, and it originally went up in LA. I was the only cast member here in the Bay Area. All the other casts are in LA.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and so it originally went up at the Hudson in LA.
How did they find you?
Rose Ozer. So Rose Ozer, Fault Line, and Z Space. That is one of my theater family members from the start. We worked on Every 28 Hours, which is Claudia Alex Baby. She produced in response to the Ferguson movement. She invited all of the playwrights around the world to contribute short plays. And so Rose and I began our relationship with Every 28 Hours, which we ended up taking to Google. And it was their first play that was ever performed within the Google headquarters that went up live on their platform.
Oh, that's
Wow.
amazing. That's fantastic.
No, you've been bouncing. You've been Your path has been, it's been great to watch.
Thank you.
Every time your name comes up again, and it's so funny because I called you earlier this summer for a little radio play project,
That was
and,
fun.
and it was a lot of fun, but it was one of those, I don't know how busy you are right now, so I'm gonna ask, but it seems like you've got it going on.
I've been very blessed. It's a great privilege to be an artist, to be a working artist, and to finally, after all these long years, right, really thrive in what I was meant to do. This was what I was meant to do my whole life. I know it. I have no stage fright when I'm on stage. I have no fear. I'm at home when I'm in whatever I'm doing in the theater. I could be sweeping and mopping and setting up the front of the house. I'm at home. I'm safe. That's where I feel cared for,
Well, you do it fabulously when you were on stage, and I would love to see some of the work that you get to direct. What do you see coming next? Do you have something lined up, or do you feel like there's some way to navigate through this crazy sequester time?
Well, it's a secret, but I'm working on bringing something that is very necessary.
Oh.
That's been in New York and had rave reviews back to the Bay Area. I'm working on that. And of course, TheatreFirst just announced our new season.
Right.
It's 11 serials that will collectively come together on that 12th, hopefully when we are able to take space up again at Live Oak. And
right.
So we're going to be launching that and continuing the work with the African American Art and Culture Complex and building out a viable theater program for them as well. And,
is there anybody in residence at the Burial Clay right now?
No.
I mean, not right now because nobody's doing anything.
Yeah. So when we went into shelter in place, the Lorraine Hansberry was just in the midst of rehearsing. And of course that didn't go up.
Right.
And Campo Santo was in rehearsals for the next performance after that.
Oh, nice.
So looking forward to creating space for everybody again very, very soon. We're working on a re-entry plan that will hopefully be approved from the Department of Public Health and the Mayor's office. And right now they're throwing out a date of May, possibly when we can go back into the space to begin work.
Right.
But it'll still be with restrictions.
Of course. But it's nice to hear that people are starting to plan in a safe, intelligent way. How can we re-enter? Because I've always thought, people say, well, first everything shut down. And it's like, well, this is the new normal. No, this is not normal. This is the period where we're going to reset and
develop our new normal.
Yeah, we're going to have to figure out what it is we can do. So I'm glad to see that there is a vision towards moving towards that.
Yeah. Yes. And I also want to give a quick shout out to the Bay Area's Women's Theater Festival, where I'm an instigator / producer. That's been like the most fun, creating space for over 100 women plus artists in the Bay Area.
Wow. That's with Erin Merritt?
Yes. And Susan Shea, Ariella Wolf, Michaela Goldberg. So many greats.
Wow, that's fantastic. One last question, because I think we've hit the 1 hour mark. Where do you yourself see you in the future, like 5-10 years from now? What do you want to do?
My goal from the very beginning was to, Mrs. Mary Booker passed away right after my career launched.
Yeah, I remember.
My goal is to continue to honor her and provide free, low-cost theater training to all of our youth, and to maintain a space that is all ours. And so I'm really, really, really happy. That's been my goal, and now here I am at the African American Art and Culture Complex, where I can actually do something like that.
That's wonderful.
Right on. No, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, you mentioned shout outs, and we will, if you know some shows or things that you want to be able to talk about, we are going to transition to that part of the program where we start with birthdays. So this week, and actually, I told Cheri that I wanted to stay. We're going to have Margot Hall on in a couple of weeks. I wanted to stay with that black creative voice, but I almost got Josh Marks today. A wonderful white guy. I got to do a show called Everyday Alice with him a couple of years ago. And all these conversations in the dressing room about being a director in the Bay Area made me go, oh, when we had to move Margot, I was like, maybe I'll get Josh. But instead, we'll just say happy birthday for now, and hopefully he'll be on the program in the future.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Stephen Bass is somebody I met way back in the day doing improv. Tracy Potter, I think. But I think her writing name is Tracy Held. She is a writer, playwright. We actually got to work together last summer. Yeah, I got her to come up and work with the students that I was working with at the Eugene O'Neill House last summer, so that was cool. Lauren English Clark is one of the folks that make SF Playhouse possible. She's director, actor, I don't know how many hats she wears. Anna Schneiderman ran, I'm not sure what's going on now with the flight deck. She has her own company, Ragged Wing Theater, and the flight deck is now going to become part of Piano Fight.
Oh,
so,
interesting.
Yeah, you didn't know that? That they just announced that about a week or so ago. Yeah, there's also some theater news that we should be adding into this mix. Luis Operzo is an actor who passed away years ago, but he had started the Latin American Theater Artists, which was a small theater group when we still don't have very much representation from that community in our theater. So he was somebody who was really big in trying to bring that about. Siobhan Doherty is somebody who seems to be working everywhere. She works with Each One Reach One. We've been working up at Nueva. She works with other theater companies. She's an amazing actress, but she's been more than anybody pushing to help connect people through casting opportunities. She's been great with that. And the last one I have is Juliette Tanner, actress in the Bay Area, used to be with Crowded Fire when they first were starting, and we worked together for about 4 years. She was my little sister in a house on Mango Street. They kept bringing the show back. It was so popular. So that's my list.
All right. Well, my list, tomorrow, it'll be Simon Kaplan's birthday. And Simon Kaplan, he was a stage manager at EastEnders. And later he went on to direct and I think produce kid shows. I'm not sure what organization he was in, but Simon was an awesome dude, and he's still doing some great work. So happy birthday to Simon. His birthday is tomorrow. On Wednesday, Ben Couch. And Ben Couch, he was a guest on The Yay. He was a British actor who's worked with Bendel Stiff Studios. And Ben was a great actor. I remember him and I being on stage. We did Stories High together, and he was also on my podcast, I'm an American Too, talking about his experiences as a gay British guy and his dealing with, life in America. And so his birthday is on Tuesday. Also, Wednesday. Caitlin Everson. This is one, I'm sure you've had to go through this, Norm, where you see an actor and you're like, where was I on stage with him or her? But right. Caitlin Everson, she and I shared the stage. I'm sure it was probably with either EastEnders or the Douglas Morrison Theater. She was a brilliant young actress, and her birthday is on the 10th. And I went to Duke Ellington School of the Arts, and another guy who graduated with me was Kevin Howie, a great actor. He and I did Bubblin' Brown Sugar, which is a wonderful musical about the like the Cotton Club and Black experience during that time. So in any case, Kevin, happy birthday to him. And also Shane Ray. Shane Ray is the founder of Ray of Light Theater. He and his partner had been the executive director of that until they gave it to other younger individuals. But Ray of Light Theater they basically produce, great musical theater within the Victorian Theater. And
right, in San Francisco.
Yeah, exactly, in San Francisco. And a lot of their alumni have gone on to greater and better things. As a matter of fact, I met Shane Ray when I stage managed Bat Boy, the musical, which was directed by James Iglehart, who, of course, went on to win a Tony Award.
Right.
So Shane Ray, happy birthday to you. His is Friday. And Saturday, so one of the casualties of COVID-19 was a play that I was involved in called Tiny Beautiful Things.
Oh, right.
Which Plethos was producing. And one of the great actors was a guy named George Gill, who was a young actor, young Black actor who had a lot of energy, had a lot of depth, and I want to get him on the A. And he obviously, we won't see him on stage for that, but he's a wonderful, great young actor. And I think he's on the rise. He's one of these guys where he didn't have a lot of training. He didn't go to school, but he just had a lot of charisma. I think he was involved in Plethos' earlier production. They did a musical, Lin-Manuel Miranda. What was one of his musicals? In the Heights. He was in the Heights.
Oh, right.
I think The World of George, and his birthday will be Saturday, and that's my list.
Yeah.
Can I do some birthday shout outs?
Yes, please.
So first of all, it passed already, but to the great Linda Tillery, whose birthday
we
was
mentioned,
September 2nd.
Last week. Yeah.
Yes. Linda Tillery, happy birthday. Thank you for your Black excellence. Tiara Allen, who just blows me away with her phenomenal abilities. And someone that I love seeing perform and being in space with her. Her birthday was September 3rd. Cleavon Smith, his birthday is coming up on Sunday. Daniel Davis, his birthday was yesterday. And Julius Rea, his birthday is today. And all of these theater makers who were born, who were like these September Virgo, Libras. I don't know what it is, but I love you all, and thank you so much for all that artistic juice that y'all bring. So,
right on.
Now, we talked about Erin Merritt. She's got a piece up, or it'll start next week. Yes. Neighborhood Stories.
Yes.
And I'll send you a website for it, Reg. It starts on the 12th. There's Saturdays and Sundays at 3 o'clock, and they're doing a bunch of pieces, I think, around the lake. There are going to be a bunch of individual pieces that you will be able to enjoy from your car.
From your car.
So that's a bizarre little thing that's coming up.
I've got one. If anybody can do it, she can.
What's that?
If anybody can do it, she can.
Right. Yeah, no, I was amazed when I saw, if you look at the website, it's a whole list of performers, and it looks pretty amazing. And yeah, just the fact of this is one of the ways that we're trying to bring theater back. I'm going to be doing a Zoom reading of a new play called Hamlet's Ghost, September 25th and 26th. And I will send Reg a thing for that so we can add that in. And I thought, there's King Lear with SF Shakes.
That's right, directed by Elizabeth Carter, right?
Yep, and we had Rebecca on last week, the artistic director, and so that's going tonight. On. You're going to see it tonight?
Yeah, 7 p.m.
11 o'clock, yeah. I don't have other shows, Rich. I did want to mention a couple of other things, though. We sort of talked about the town hall thing, but now it's been publicized. So I think we can officially acknowledge it. Walnut Creek is also, Center Rep is also letting go of their artistic director. So Town Hall lets go of Susan Evans. Center Rep has let go of Michael Butler. And if you want to see something amazing, you really should. You can look it up on Facebook. It says Celebrate Center Rep with Michael Butler. And he does this wonderful piece where there's images and he talks about all the people and what they tried to create there. Yeah. He is so upbeat and graceful, gracious in his goodbye that it makes you want to go see what's going to happen there next because it's so exciting. But these companies are deciding that in this situation they don't know what's going on, and the easiest way for them to sort of downsize is to let go of that position of leadership. It's these are strange times. There are opportunities for those of us that are looking to do that next thing, but we're going to be saying goodbye to a lot of folks.
Yeah, it's painful. I mean, my take on it, and you know, I'm a personal friend of Susan Evans, and we're actually working on the Brecht project. It's something I've talked about on the last episode, and I'll be announcing more of that. That'll happen on the last week of October. But you know, when I think about an artistic director, it's something that we actors don't really think about because we interact with directors and stage managers and people who are involved in the production we're doing. But the artistic director, they're the ones who hired the director. They're the ones who set the actual season. There are some bad artistic directors who sort of shut the door on people of colors, but then there are folks who actually open the doors. Like Susan Evans brought in, by the way, Meet Vera Stark, and brought in Dawn Monique Williams, who has directed at the Douglas Morrison and then later Town Hall Theater. Civil War Christmas, you know, that was a wonderful, you know, wonderful telling of Christmas, but also with the Civil War and with Black issues and wonderful multiculturalism. And that didn't happen without Susan Evans. So it's wonderful that the other theater company recognized their leading artistic director. I wish that Town Hall would recognize a person like Susan Evans. And yeah, these are strange times, and I wonder if they're making decisions about artistic directors, are they making decisions about what shows they're going to put on? And
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No,
so, I think it's strange times, and of course, you know, John has he won't leave TheatreFirst.
Right.
Take on a different role, and still be with us. Because TheatreFirst is his home. I would never want to shut him out. I would never, I call him my big little brother. You know, I would never want to not share in creative process with him. But when we think about how we have not had the freedom to create without the white gaze or without the white permission.
Right.
We need the opportunity to see what that feels like.
Yeah.
You know, as painful as it may be, we deserve it.
Yeah, the artistic directors are the ones who open or close the doors on us and the stories. So we'll see. With that said,
I think there will be, you know, there will always be somebody trying to do something new.
Yeah. Cheri, did you enjoy yourself?
I did. I always have fun with Norman, and it was great to meet you, Reg.
Yeah, it was wonderful meeting you as well, and wonderful to hear your story. It's amazing, you know, someone who, because we think of theater like, you know, young folks who are like, oh wow, I've got this dream of being a superstar or whatever, but you know, someone who has had a life experience, who's already had a life, and then all of a sudden you're like, you know what, my life isn't over. I still have a dream, and so it's wonderful to hear your
story to tell.
Yeah. And you're inspiring others. Others will be like, you know what, I'm not too, you know, I may be 20, 30, 40 years old or whatever, but I can still do it. So I hope someone will be inspired by you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I am inspired by my story unfolding right before my eyes. It's not something that I'm directing.
Yeah, being directed by God. Yeah, that's awesome. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful, wonderful story. So here's my little blurb. You're watching this on YouTube. You can like, subscribe, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, give us a thumbs up, all that stuff that the YouTubers say. I guess we're influencers now, Norman. I guess that's our thing now. But you're also
we were so in danger of breaking that town hall story before it was public. I was like, oh
yeah. Well, we didn't get in trouble, so whatever. But in any case, and also for those who are listening to us on podcasts, you can listen to us on any podcast app that you listen to. If you're an Apple user like me, there's that purple little podcast app that's on your iPhone or iPad. You can find us very, very easy. If you're an Android user, you can use SoundCloud or just go on download the SoundCloud app or just go on soundcloud.com and you'll find us. The Yay was created by theater people for theater people. If you have a show you want to advertise or if you just want to advertise yourself, let us know. Hit us up on Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. I'm at Red Space Clay.
And on Twitter, I'm at Who's Your Hoosier.
Cheri, do you do social media? How can people reach out to you?
I do, but not very well. I'm not very consistent. But please follow the work at the Bay Area's Women Theater Festival.com, AAACC.org, and TheatreFirst.com. Thank you so much.
Right on. And as we always say, you gotta
find a better sign off.
And we are out.